Back in 2001, Bungie released the world's first ever home video game. The name of the game was Halo Combat Evolved, and it's hard to believe now, but back then it was revolutionary. Just ask video game industry analyst Jerry Madden.
The thing about the Halo franchise is that it has changed the way we look at games. Pre-2001, video games tended to be simple affairs. Games like Pong and Space Invaders were dominating the arcades, and video game consoles had yet to be invented. But Halo changed all that.
In order to release Halo Combat Evolved, Microsoft had to totally restructure a video game industry that wasn't prepared for it. They had to create an infrastructure that could handle the sheer weight of creative genius that was Halo. In short, they had to invent the home video game industry. Even though Halo Combat Evolved was originally released in the arcades, it wasn't long before executives over at Microsoft began looking at the home market. Bungie catering assistant Alan Cubbs says it took an active genius for Halo to enter the living room.
What you have got to remember is that back in 2001, nobody knew what a video game was. Well, not enough people did. So what we did at Bungie was, we had to get the term video game into the public's vocabulary.
Cubbs added that to do so, Bungie had to rely on trusted marketing techniques.
Basically, we had a meeting and our supervisor Norm said that he had hired a fancy marketing team to help us get the phrase video game out into the collective consciousness. The method we used was cutting edge at the time, and it basically amounted to each of us on the team telling at least one person what a video game was, and then asking them to pass that knowledge on.
The effect of the word-of-mouth campaign was staggering.
Within 2 days, the entire world knew what a video game was. We were getting word back from researchers deep in the Amazon telling us that tribes had approached them to tell them what a video game was. It was simply breathtaking. Now the world knew what a video game was, it was now our job to give them one.
It was all very well the world knowing what a video game was, but if there wasn't any machines available to play video games on, the word-of-mouth campaign would have all been for nothing. Enter Jane Jenkins, a social worker from the UK government, who was just so happening to be investigating claims of child abuse at Bungie Studios when she caught the Halo bug. Jane knew the moment she walked into Bungie Studios that something special was taking place there. The minute my team and I first raided the studios, and I caught sight of a cardboard cutout of Master Chief, I knew Bungie were onto something big. Jenkins went on to clear Bungie of the sexual abuse claims, though some cynics claim she did so only because Bungie chief Scott Parkson offered her 50% of the company in order to keep her mouth shut. The suggestion that I buried evidence of sexual abuse just because I was offered half the company is ludicrous. Jane is now the CEO and joint owner of Bungie Studios, and even though she has a partner in Scott Parkson, she has sole control over all of the company decisions, as Parkson is currently serving 15 years for an unrelated sex crime on a minor. After we ensured that the world knew what a video game was, we then had to go to work in designing a device that would allow consumers to actually play video games in their own homes. Sure, we had the arcades, and Halo Combat Evolved was the most profitable arcade game of all time, but a study revealed that people didn't really like frequenting arcades and preferred to have the option of playing the games at home. That's when we released the original Xbox. The original Xbox was nothing short of a phenomenon. From day one, the world's first video game console was a smash hit. Jane continues. On the first day of release, the Xbox shifted 500 million units worldwide. The demand was unbelievable. Indeed, such was the success of the original Xbox. Time magazine voted it the best invention ever. But according to Jane, both Bungie and Microsoft were genuinely taken by surprise. Even though we manufactured over 1 billion Xbox consoles, we were still surprised at just how much in demand it was. There were even reports of rioting on the day of its release. In fact, when one retailer ran out of consoles in Bethnal Green, a consumer took out his revolver and gunned down over 300 bystanders. How crazy is that? No other console launch could claim that, could they? It isn't an over-exaggeration to say the entire world was Xbox crazy. A Microsoft Employee of the Month for April 2008, Gareth Williams, claims it was all down to one guy.
Master Chief could have run for president back then, he was so popular. While the original Xbox machine was a pretty advanced bit of tech, if it wasn't for Master Chief and Halo Combat Evolved, no one would have bought it.
So, just how many people ended up buying the original Xbox? For the answer to that question, we have to go back to video game industry analyst Jerry Madden.
14 billion Xbox consoles were bought. 14 billion. That's just over 2 consoles each for every human being alive.
But then there's a darker side to the Halo story that not many people know about, or if they do, they simply choose not to remember. The Halo franchise was perhaps too popular for its own good, so much so that it nearly brought on this collapse of civilization as we know it. And according to Jerry, we are lucky that we survived it.
What you have to remember about the Halo epidemic is that, as it was such a perfect game, people were having trouble putting down the joypads, going back to their day-to-day lives. As a result, industry lost trillions of dollars from workers calling in sick so they could carry on playing Halo. Some people became so engrossed in Master Chief's adventure that they starved to death. The global economy suffered more financial losses than at any other point throughout history.
Chances are that if you are over 18 years of age, then you will remember the Halo epidemic, as you either became one of the infected or you know someone who did. 26-year-old Sean Cameron remembers the effects of the Halo epidemic vividly.
What I remember the most from those days was the empty streets. I can't play first-person shooters as I suffer from motion sickness. So when everybody I knew was caught up in the epidemic, I was basically left on my own. It was like that Will Smith movie in which the human race had turned into zombies and he had the whole city to himself. It was exactly like that, except I didn't have a dog.
In an ironic twist of fate, it was our collective addiction to Halo that ultimately cured us. As with fewer and fewer people turning up for work every day, the power plants became severely understaffed and were forced to shut down, taking their electricity with them. Jerry Madden believed that if they hadn't, we wouldn't be here today.
If the power companies hadn't shut down, then I'm certain Halo would have done the same to the human race as what the asteroid did to the dinosaurs.
After the power cuts crippled the world, and the world's populace awakened from its Halo-induced nightmare, Bungie and Microsoft recalled every copy of Halo Combat Evolved and destroyed every single one. Jane Jenkins believes that Bungie have learned from their mistakes with the original Halo and revealed that Bungie have adopted a new company mandate. We learned a very valuable lesson with Combat Evolved, and as a company moving forward, we have tried to ensure that we don't make the same mistakes again. That's why we have made a concerted effort to ensure that every subsequent Halo game we release is inferior to the last one. We nearly wiped out mankind. We do not intend to do that again.